Yes, relax, lean back, and enjoy this wonderful talk from Eckhart about all the challenges in life that are coming constantly, no matter if you are more or less awakened. They are coming to everybody. And you just, yeah, your perspective is all that matters and that counts. And Eckhart explains it very nicely. So really take that essence out of this talk, and yeah. And just, I want to say already, you have to just learn that it's okay that there are challenges. Don't judge yourself of receiving challenges. Okay? Yeah, so now enjoy and take a cup of coffee or tea, not coffee, tea is better, or warm water. And then lean back, relax, and enjoy.
So it's when the your surface reality becomes frustrating, that's the beginning of potentially finding the portal into the awakened state. But when your surface reality is relatively pleasant, by the way, it doesn't stay like that, but for the time being, let's say it's relatively pleasant, you're not really motivated into finding the deeper essence of who you are, because why not, let's fly to Paris. We'll have a great meal there, where you feel a little bit uncomfortable and discontent. Okay, let's go there, let's do this, let's try this. More sensory experience. You can buy any sensory experience. And then after a while you find being in your comfort zone, after a while becomes your discomfort zone. And then finally you've made it. And then finally there's a possibility of awakening. And so this is the challenges that we encounter in life. Many people have an attitude of resentment or a feeling that there's something very wrong with the world, or there's something very wrong with my life, when they're being challenged by difficult situations, difficult people, loss of some kind. Did I mention difficult people? Oh yes. You may find a lot of your suffering, unhappiness, strangely enough, comes from other people. They are so difficult. And often the very people that were supposed to make you happy, suddenly they don't fulfill their purpose anymore and they make you unhappy. It's called the divorce court. And there's an implied belief that this shouldn't be happening. Life should unfold beautifully without all that stuff going wrong. And to some extent, yes, to some extent, especially as you live more consciously and no longer totally in the grip of ego, you're beginning to awaken, there's an awareness, you no longer create unnecessary suffering in your mind through reactivity, you're able to drop the unnecessary baggage of creating narratives and creating your own suffering through your narratives. You let go of that, so it's a huge chunks of suffering begin to fall away. But challenges still come. Even then, challenge, and even then, it doesn't mean everything will now go totally as expected and as it should. there's still loss happening from time. You still come across difficult people. Oh, I don't want any more difficult. Yeah, but they're everywhere. As the famous French philosopher said, hell is other people. He looked very unhappy, by the way. Well, the only photo I ever saw of him, he looked unhappy, so I don't know. J.Appel Sartre. It's true, other people are difficult. So your life improves immeasurably as you become more conscious, but it will still challenge you. And it won't mean you will never experience loss again. It doesn't mean things may not go wrong still occasionally, not perhaps as drastically as before. You don't create your own mayhem and chaos anymore. But challenges, yes, different kinds of challenges come. And if you no longer complain that a challenge shouldn't exist, difficulties shouldn't exist, obstacles shouldn't exist, things should not be cancelled, they shouldn't go wrong. If you drop that expectation, then it's actually fine. But be careful that if you still have an unspoken assumption that there's something wrong when challenges happen, that would draw you back into unhappiness. There's nothing wrong when challenges happen. We grow through them. And if you hadn't had yours, you wouldn't be here. If I hadn't had mine, I wouldn't be here, so we wouldn't be here. We would not be here without it. And so retrospectively, we can actually be grateful for the suffering that we've had, retrospectively. The question is, the challenges of life, when they come, do we transform them into unhappiness, or are we able to just face them and then go with them and do whatever action is possible or necessary, or totally accept that at this moment, this is how it is. So when you live more consciously, you no longer convert the difficulties of life, the inevitable difficulties and challenges of life, you no longer convert them into unhappiness, which means they don't contribute anymore to your unhappy person identity. You're no longer becoming a more unhappy person. You'll be surprised how many people's main sense of identity in this world is unhappiness. And they're just looking for the next thing to be unhappy about. And they always find something, or to complain about, to be angry about. There's an expression that then you become a grievance looking for a cause. And of course you always find the causes. Important thing then to realize that I'm sure there are some of you who have carried the burden of a very unhappy self for many years, and perhaps you're just beginning to step out of it, you're just perhaps beginning to transcend it, and there are still millions in this world who carry the burden of an unhappy narrative in their minds, unhappy self. And that means you think about then my life. Why did it come to this? Why didn't my expectations that I had when I was 20, why didn't they work out? Why did my marriage collapse? Why did I lose that job? Why did I succeed and made millions and then I lost them? Why? Why did I work for nothing for 15 years and then the whole thing that I built up collapsed? Why? It's so dreadful. All this begins to dissolve, because you realize you're unconsciously creating suffering and strengthening the egoic personality through that. And then my life then is just memories, and you begin to realize, as I sometimes put it, or people find it a little weird, when I say my life isn't a correct way of putting it, because you don't have a life. You don't have a life. Because if you have a life, there's you and life. How can you be separate from life? So, if you don't have a life, one could even say you can't even lose your life. You can only lose something that you have, but you are life, you don't have a life. I am life, and life and consciousness are synonymous. It doesn't mean that every form of life is conscious, but every form of life is, the way I see it, is matter, the table, a rock, mineral. It's like frozen consciousness. Plant life is like liquid consciousness. It's an analogy. And the mind and thinking, and beyond that, consciousness itself is like vapor, mist, it rises. This is a water analogy. All life is manifestation of the one underlying life or consciousness in manifold forms. So you are that. I am life is a wonderful realization. I am consciousness. I don't have a life. Yes, I have a history, but the history is not my life. It's stuff. It's stuff in the mind. It's memories. And all these things are wonderful that they happen to you, because they have brought about your awakening. They all make sense if you now look back on all the things that happened, including, and not only including, but especially the so-called bad things. They brought you to this point. They pushed you into awakening.
What a wonderful releasing talk, if you listen to it really deeply, and really take your time to listen to the essence of this talk. It's very short, but it has a very wonderful essence that is for all of us. I mean, we are all, as he says, as Eckhart says, we are all very programmed for feeling bad, for having sorrows and worries and suffering feelings. It is really, and it's an addiction that we are used to have, and of course it comes from that surviving modus that we have. It's an important modus to think about and to care and to look. How do you say? To be able to survive by looking at something more clearly, not too overwhelmed, and then when we are too happy, let's say, like I don't want to say too happy, you can never be too happy, but if you are in a happy state, you often have that glasses on, that pink glasses that don't let you see everything, and not even sometimes the dangers. So we have that function also that is very aware and looks at every situation, scans everything very clearly, and finds the negative things, points it out, so you can be aware what's gonna happen, and you can react and all this. But that's only a feature from the past that we still have in us, because you never know when, I mean, sometimes accidentally that can happen, something, always, you never know. But in general, it's not needed. It's completely not needed in our normal life. So it could be totally taken away from our everyday life. But we are programmed for that. So, and I really wanted to also point out that, that all of us, even if we, I mean, I'm sure that even Eckhart has moments of this feeling, and I mean, of course, that's why he's able to talk about it, because he knows exactly how it feels. And it doesn't mean that it's not there anymore. It's very wonderful said from him that these challenges will still, they will come. The people will be there. It's always coming. But the more the more you come into a state of allowing everything to be, and of always, well, kind of flying through your life in a bird perspective, like an eagle flying above everything. If you are able to keep that perspective. Yes, that was my child just hopping in the room. Yeah, and that's exactly such moments. They will always come. Unexpected interruptions of all kinds and forms, and you can always take it as your challenge. How do you behave in that moment? How do you react to that happening, to that thing, that person, that behavior, that whatever occurs to be there? How do you react? And certainly you will see, if you always, when you feel, oh, it makes something with me, oh, it goes deep in me. When you feel that, and you can start becoming aware of that, and you can try to observe yourself in that situation. Which is, I know, it is difficult. I know for sure. I know exactly, especially with children or with people that are very close to you. It is really not as easy, because they are more closer to you, and it's, to me, to my understanding, the real reason is actually the fact that they are closer to you is almost like they are you. And how do you act with yourself? How do you really act and behave with yourself when something goes wrong, where you are involved? What do? You give yourself anger. You judge yourself. And that's where it starts. And that way, the people that are closer to you, meaning, in a way, being more you, being more part of you, get the same judgments that you give yourself to. Yeah. And then, if you are trying to behave a certain way, that you want to control to be a certain way, and then the others will mirror you in the way that they behave, the way that you don't want to allow yourself to be. That way, all the judgment that you gave yourself before, you give now to them. So if you are, for example, a person that is similar to how I was, for example, that is usually kind of doing many things. Always saying yes, and then maybe in the second step or the second thought is then, oh, why did I say yes? Now I have so much to do, but still then you do it, huh? You rather say yes than no to when someone is asking you, or you don't even ask anyone for help. You just do everything and ask no one because you don't want to bother anyone. Yeah. Eckhart didn't explain that, but for me it starts already there. How are you and how do you behave with yourself, with the challenges that are coming? Do you look for support or help? Are you brave enough? Are you self-worthy enough that you can say, oh, I would like some help with this or that, and I go and kindly ask someone to help me, rather than always doing everything by itself, because this way you will already change from your inside. Yeah, you will not have this constant state of being stressed, which if you are such a person, you don't know and you don't realize it. Because you think this is normal, this way of being. But please become aware that it's not, and that there are people out there and they are all there and they are happy to be there to help you as well. You will see, and that's a big challenge that you can do to overcome this anger or judgment of others by first of all starting with yourself, and go out and ask someone for a help. A help where you think, oh, I could never do that. Exactly, that one you pick, and that one you're gonna do as a challenge for you. Yeah, I hope you enjoy that, and I wish you a very, very nice day. And as always, think of and never forget that you are your lottery win of your life. Okay. And P.S. think of contacting me if you would love to have a coaching session. A very wonderful, energetic, oh my goodness, coaching session where we will release some of your trapped energy from past emotional deeply experiences. We will release that, and then we can install a new emotion with a new future for you. Okay, and your challenge is just contact me. Look up my name, and then you contact me on Instagram or Facebook. You look me up, and then you contact me and ask me and tell me. Okay? And then we fix a date, and then we meet on a Zoom meeting for 1 hour, maximum 2 hours. But we see. It depends where you stand and where you stand in that moment where we get in touch. Bye-bye. And yes, it's a gift. It's a completely free gift from me to you, my beloved subscriber.